Ja, Justin Pioche initië. Ashi hinishle, bit adni bashishing. Kenya ani dashiche, tkodich dashanele. Hello, my name is Justin Pioche. I'm a Salt Clan Navajo from Farmington, New Mexico, born for the Bitter Water people. And today we're going to be cooking some traditional Navajo steamed corn stew here at the Midtown Global Market in Minneapolis, Minnesota. What we start with is, besides some good lamb and also some good vegetables, we have some steamed corn from the farm that I work at over at Navajo Ethno-Agriculture. And this process takes about a year to get to this point. After it's harvested, we build a big hole in the ground, and we usually use cedar, and then we also steam it underground for over 40 hours. And once it's done with that, we clean it, and then we take it off the cobs, and then we dry it, and then it's good for about 10 years or so once it's packaged properly. And this is one of the older forms of food preservations that we know of. It's really important to us in our diet as Navajos, and so I felt like it's a really important dish to bring forward into this video. So this is how it looks once it's dried, and it takes, you want to soak this overnight. And once it's done soaking, it's gonna look a lot like this. It's a little bit of plump, like a plumped kernel basically again, but it also has that really earthy texture and flavor as well. And you can eat it just like this. So good by itself. There's also people who re-dry it as well and turn it into kind of like corn nuts or whatnot. But today we're going to be turning it into a stew. And it's kind of important to soak these beforehand, kind of like beans, because otherwise this will take all day to cook. And we're cutting down the cooking time about an hour and a half, 2-ish. So we have some nice celery here, some carrots and onions. All of these are relatives to where I grew up at. We also have wild varieties, which is why I choose to use them. Pioche is actually French and means a pickaxe. So my last name is actually French, which is pretty gnarly, and it's cool because I love French food as well. So we're just gonna take these vegetables and we're gonna dice it down to about a medium size. These don't have to be perfect, but you want them all to be around the same size, because once they're cut around the same size, they're gonna cook more evenly. And I'm gonna start with the carrots because the carrots are more fibrous and they take the longest to cook. Not everybody's gonna wanna cut everything precisely all the time. I mean, who has that kind of time, you know what I mean? But it's a good dish for family, especially during the winter. So it's cold outside, and we all want something nice and warm to come home to. So we have our carrots here diced. I'm gonna come here with celery. Just trim it down a little bit down the middle. And in French, these three vegetables together are called mirepoix. And it's usually 1 part onions to 0.5 celery to 0.5 carrots. So just a little bit of an eyeball here. I have about, say, roughly 1/4 cup, 1/2 cup. So, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect, so we're just gonna cut these down a little bit. There we go. And as you can see, I have more onions than celery or carrots. My pan is not super hot. We don't want to burn it right off the back, so we're gonna add just about a tablespoon or so of oil. Let that come up to temperature here in a little bit. Yep. We're gonna add our carrots first, like I said, because they're more fibrous and they take a little longer to cook. And I like to salt as I go because salt dissolves, and once you start with a little bit of salt at the beginning, you don't have to add all the salt at the very end, which makes it really salty because all you're tasting is the salinity. So we have our carrots going. We're gonna just get a little bit of color on there. We don't want to fully cook them yet because that's going to be the flavor for our broth. We can go ahead and add the rest of the vegetables because these aren't as tough as the carrots. Clean as you go. Again, like I said, I like to salt as I go. That way we don't have to salt at the very end. While that's going, we're gonna start cutting down the lamb. So I have two different kinds of cuts of the lamb. I have the chops right here. I'm gonna use the bone. And then we also have the leg, which is really good for braising, and it brings out a lot of different flavors to the stew as well. Don't forget to stir your vegetables because we don't want that to burn. And you want to get a pan going, a little saute pan so we can start browning the meat. So what I'm gonna do with this one is I'm gonna take one of the bones. We'll take two. That guy aside. Trim off the meat. And these bones are gonna add a nice, deep, richer flavor to the dish. So we're gonna take these. And if you have leg bones, that's even better. Neck bones are more ideal. They have a lot more flavor than these right now, but we're just, we're having fun today in the kitchen. So we're gonna take the meat, dice it down. Take some of the leg here. Take a good little nub off. Don't forget your vegetables. So I'm gonna add a little bit of water right now so that this doesn't burn. And keep moving on the meat. Nice little dices. Stir your vegetables again. Got some nice color coming on the bones here. And I'm gonna add the rest of the meat cubes that we have right here so we can start getting a nice browning color on the outside. This process is actually referred to as the Maillard reaction, where the sugars inside of the meat start to caramelize, thus creating a better product in the long run. The veggies are looking good. I'm just gonna add a little bit of water. So at this point, we're gonna have this looking about right there. So you can see some nice browning on it a little bit. And don't be afraid of that. It's not, as long as it's not totally black, you're gonna be fine. We're gonna add our corn to that. This is the one that we soaked, not the dried kernels that we had earlier. So we mix those together. We're gonna add, that's 2 cups of water. I already can tell that we're gonna need more, so I'm gonna add probably double. So about 2 more cups of water. And again, we're browning the meat, so we're gonna add a little bit of salt to the mixture. So we're not salting all at the end. I like to clean as I go because when you're done with the cooking process, you don't have too much to clean up after you're done. So this is gonna come up to a boil. It's gonna go for about an hour and a half or so. I'm gonna let these brown here in a second and we'll be right back with you. So we have our meat here. It's been going for about 15-20 minutes or so. As you can see, it's got a nice dark color on some of the pieces that are smaller. We're gonna let that go a little bit longer. But right now there's what's called the fond, which is the little tidbits on the bottom of the pan that stick to it. You don't want to necessarily waste that because that's a lot of flavor in itself. So in order to get rid of that, or not get rid of it, but to utilize it, you add a little splash of water. And this cooled down a little bit because I turned down the heat. I didn't want to start a fire in the Indigenous food lab. So what it's going to do is it's going to release all that fond, and then that's all the meat flavors right there, all the good parts. So just swirl it around a little bit just to let it release. And it looks like it's ready to go. You see the pan's already nice and clean. So we're gonna add that to the stew mixture. Make sure you stir, stir, stir. This is called a rolling boil when you see it going really, really hard. So we're gonna turn this down to about a medium because I don't want it to reduce too fast, and when you lose water, a lot of the stuff will start to stick to the bottom of the pot, and we don't want that necessarily too much, but we wanna make sure that this is definitely cooked all the way through. It smells freaking delicious. So we're gonna add a little bit more salt to the mixture. Stir. Already tasting beautiful. So we're gonna we're gonna turn down just a little bit more to where it's at a high simmer, so it's not technically really, really hardcore boiling, but it's gonna simmer nice and let all the flavors come together. This is gonna go for about another hour and a half or two. We're gonna come back here in a little bit and check on our stew. So our stew's been going for about an hour and a half or so, and it's looking beautiful. I turned it up again a little bit, but as you can see, a nice dark color on there. Smells magnificent. We're gonna test the vegetables real quick, see if they're cooked all the way through. They should be after an hour and a half, so. Yep. Taste your broth. Fantastic. So I'm gonna add a little bit more salt. And just for garnish, since we're in the Indigenous Food Lab here in Minneapolis, we're gonna do a little take on making it look a little fancier. So I have some of the carrot tops that we had from earlier. Just gonna fine dice these a little bit. Just to add a little bit of color. And I also like the kind of herbaceous kind of finish that it gives to the dish as well. And we have a little bit of the celery tops. And I think we're ready to plate. And we're gonna give this one more taste real fast. Check the salt level. Tastes like home, New Mexico. Just scoop a little bit of these in there. And the broth. So just gonna finish off with a little bit of our carrot tops there. Let's see if you guys can see this. Give a couple of these guys on the side for some color. And we used a couple of leaner cuts of the lamb for this today. So I'm gonna add a little bit of sunflower oil, just to add a little bit of an unctuousness, and it also makes the bowl look really nice. Finish it with just a little bit of salt. And there you have it. Navajo steamed corn stew. A little bit of mirepoix, the steamed corn that we have from the reservation, some lamb, water, and a whole lot of love. And yeah, you can make this at home. Feel free to look this up online for the recipe. And thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you.